All right, students. Okay, today we are going to start our revision, right? So, you might think that this is kind of a ordinary class. No, it is not an ordinary class, and I'm also not teaching you, right? I'm just acting as a manager, right? There are some students who have work experience. They know that how manager is doing things, and other students definitely know how teachers are doing things, right? I'm not going to teach you because we just have only 3 months left, right? We just have only 3 months left, right? If we are lucky, exams might go to December, but so far it was impossible because government strictly say exams are not postponing, right? Okay, so as I said, I'm going to manage all, right? Okay. And also I'm going to cover each and everything. I'm not going to cover. I'm going to show what are the things in the syllabus, right? I know there's a student who didn't know anything in the subject here, right? Don't worry, Puta. May I call you Puta? Anyway, uh, don't worry, right? I will explain you in detail everything, and I will talk with you everything, right? Don't worry. And others, right? I know you all have other people, other students have some experience in the subject, right? Other students have they studied some lessons. Sometimes they might study. They have all the 18 lessons experience, right? Okay. Okay. Don't worry about anything, right? Now I'm going to discuss with you how we are going to face this challenge, how we are going to manage the subject within 3 or 4 months, right? Okay. Okay. As I said earlier, we have 18 lessons to cover, right? We have 18 lessons to cover. And for the exams, sometimes you might have exam experience. You might uh, you might write some papers. So we have two papers, part one and part two, right? In part two, right, you will receive 30 MCQs, 10 fill in the blank questions, and the remaining 10 for answer some simple questions, right? So that is MCQ paper. You receive 2 hours to write that paper. And second part, you receive 8 questions. Out of that 8 questions, you should write 5 questions, and each question containing 20 marks, right? To get 100 marks, you should do 5 questions, right? You can either select 3 questions from the grade 12, and if not, you can select 3 questions from grade 13, right? Okay, I will explain everything, and also I will give you a paper, right? Not only a part one, not only part two. We will discuss papers. We will have some interactive sessions. In the future, let's have some interactive sessions, right? Okay. Okay. Today onwards, I'm start guiding you, managing, not teaching, right? Okay. Uh, I'm teaching you if I have 3 years to teach, right? Okay. So I will request few things from you before starting the class, right? If you want a good grade, right? You should listen to my instructions and definitely note the instructions, right? That is the first thing, right? The second thing is you should have a clear mind and a clear room for you, right? You should have a clear study table, right? Organize it very well, right? You should organize it very well, right? You should have a clear mind and clear table, right? That is the second thing. And the third thing is you should have notes, right? You should have notes for all the lessons, right? There are 18 lessons, right? You should collect notes for all the lessons, right? So there are ways you can collect notes, right? You can ask from your current teacher, right? You can ask notes from your current teacher. I think many of you have attended some classes, right? So there are some students that don't have teachers, right? So for that students, as last option, I will give you notes, right? I will give you notes. I will I will post it to your address, right? I'm not sending soft copies, right? Okay. The second option is, that is the last option. The second option is you can request notes from your friends, right? Your classmates, right? So that is the second option, right? And even you can ask notes from undergraduate brothers or sisters of yours, right? Okay, those are the options. Those are the options, right? So you should have a first thing, you should listen to my instructions and follow them, right? Second thing, you should have a clear mind and a clear room and a table, right? Third thing, you should have all the uh, lessons, all the fully covered syllabus, right? You should have fully covered syllabus with you. Syllabus means you should have notes, right? You should have notes for entire syllabus, right? Then I can act as a manager, right? Because now the resources are there, right? You know what managing is, right? Simply, managing is planning, organizing, directing, and controlling, right? Okay. For to manage you all, right? To manage, right? I should have support from you all. And also I must have resources, right? Okay. Me and you also, both of us should have resources, right? Okay. Those are my instructions for you, right? Then I will explain about this high speed revision, right? So high speed revision is just like shopping with your father, right? What your fathers are doing when you're shopping, right? He shows the places that you can buy things for your expectations, right? Father is showing places, right? But not stay longer, right? But not stay there for longer period of time, right? You should manage to buy things, right? You should manage to buy things. Otherwise, you can't get everything what you want, right? Fathers are showing places, right? With my experience, I'm saying sometimes your fathers are not like that, but universally fathers are like that, right? They don't like to stay. They are, they don't like to stay for a long period of time. Even me, right? Even me, when I'm shopping, I just go for the place. I just selecting, asking for prices and buy and come back, right? That's how actually mains are doing, right? So this high speed revision is just like that, right? I'm showing you the places. I'm showing you the everything, but it's up to you to buy everything what you want, right? Think I'm a rich dad of yours, right? I'm giving you money. I'm giving you everything you want. I'm giving you instructions. I'm showing you places. But you should manage to buy everything in a short period of time, right? Okay, that's how it's go, right? That's how it's going, right? That's how our revision is going, right? Okay, you should buy everything. I will show the places, right? Okay, let's go for the lesson, right? We are starting from the lesson number 1, right? We are starting from the lesson number 1. If any of you have any questions, please ask, right? Please ask, right? We should clarify everything, right? We should, you should don't keep any doubts with you, right? Okay, let's clarify everything and let's continue with the session, right? Okay, now we are going to discuss the lesson number 1, right? The most and the best lesson to score in our paper, right? Both first part and second part, right? This is the best and the most easiest, and even we can call it as foundation of this entire syllabus, right? This is the foundation of this entire syllabus, right? If you have a good foundation to your house, right? If you have a good foundation to your house, right? You can build a good house, right? You can build a good house. Otherwise, house will be broken, right? Otherwise, the walls will be cracked, right? Okay. So you should have a good foundation, right? Okay. I will show you how to make a good foundation, and you should make a good foundation, right? Okay. Let's go to the lesson, right? So lesson number 1, what is business? Introduction to business, right? And otherwise we call otherwise we can call it as introduction to so yes, introduction to business, right? Introduction to business studies, right? This subject, this lesson is like introduction, right? Okay. So I'm going to introduce you the core things, right? We can even call it like building blocks, right? Building blocks of this subject and also this lesson, right? These are the building blocks. Basic concepts based on businesses. Basic concepts based on businesses, right? Okay, first basic concept is needs, right? Sometimes you might know these concepts, right? But don't worry, right? You don't think this is just a waste of time, right? I'm remembering everything, and also while I'm remembering everything and you teaching everything, sometimes teaching, right? Teaching everything, I will show you how to write the paper and how you are going to organize for your paper, right? That's how it goes, right? Okay. First one is needs, right? Okay. Needs. We all have needs, right? We all have needs. We all have needs, right? What is need? Need is something that we should possess, that we should fulfill. That is a mandatory thing, right? Mandatory thing. We should definitely fulfill these things, right? Definitely, we should definitely fulfill these things. And there are two things, there are two needs, right? First one is physical needs, second one is psychological needs, right? So let's go for examples, right? What are examples for needs? What are examples for physical needs, right? We know that foods, we can't stay without foods, right? Then there is water, right? Then there are shelters, right? Then there are clothing, right? Those are needs. We can't live without those, right? Those are mandatory things, right? Okay. Then there is psychological needs as well, right? There are psychological needs as well, right? What are psychological needs, right? You might think this is not worthy at all to study as needs, right? I will tell you examples. Examples of psychological needs are love and safety, right? Love and safety, right? And also kindness, right? You might think we can live without love and safety and kindness, right? It's impossible, right? As an example, think your mother is not loving you, right? Your father is not loving you, right? Your mother, your father is not loving you. Even your friends are not loving you, right? Even your teachers are not loving you. What happened then? You might broken inside now, right? You can't live without love, right? And also kindness, right? Be kind for everyone, right? Be kind for yourself as well, right? Uh, Kindness is a must, right? We should kind for everyone, right? So that is a psychological need, right? So those are the two types of need you should remember, right? Those are two types of needs. There are physical needs and psychological needs, right? You see, I arrange all the concepts here, in a single whiteboard, right? So likewise, you also can do this. That's why I told you to keep a big piece of paper, right? It's better you have a CR, pages are big, and there's unfold CR paper. There is two papers, right? You can use two pages. You can use two pages to draw and write, right? Okay. While I'm explaining, you can draw these things. You can write these things, right? So, you see, this is a mind map for in all the basic concepts based on business, right? While I'm teaching, while I'm explaining, you can write these things, and at the end of the session, you should send me those notes, right? I will select the best note. I will select the most creative note from yours, right? Okay. So at the end of the session, right? So I will give you a small time to decorate things, right? It should be more familiar to us, right? It should be more familiar to us. Then it would be a mind map. It would be a road map to our end goal, right? Our destination. Okay. There are two types of needs, physical needs and psychological needs, right? Then next one, wants, right? Wants. So these are the alternative methods how we are going to fulfill our needs, right? So there are many alternatives, right? So when we take food as an example, there are many alternatives, right? As a Sri Lankan, main dish is rice and curry, right? So we can eat rice, right? Then we can eat bread, right? So let's go for a good one, pizza, right? We can eat pizza, right? Then we can eat submarines and burgers, right? So there are many alternatives for the need of what? Need of food, right? There are many alternatives, right? So what want is, I'm not giving you all the definitions. That's why I said you should collect notes, right? If you don't have notes, please tell me. I will help you somehow. Okay. So notes are the alternative methods that you can fulfill needs, right? Okay. Now I write here a comparison, right? So most of the time, in exam papers, you have this kind of questions, right? What is the question? What is the difference between needs and want, right? What is the difference between needs and want? And there is a complete, full structured answer, right? That's how we are going to write differences, right? If you have any of those different differences question, right? If any question is asking for you write differences, this is the way you are going to write. This is the best method that we can show differences, right? Okay, I will explain what are the differences between needs and want while explaining how we are going to write for the exam, right? Okay, there are needs and wants. Definitely, you should divide those two things in a table, right? That's how you can specifically, and this is the best method that you can write a difference question, right? Okay, write for a different question. If they are asking for differences, this is the way, right? Okay, then, right? So this is the two things that you are going to define, right? This is the two things that you are going to differentiate, right? Then you can write a definition of it, right? So there is a definition of needs, right? What is definition? These are mandatory physical and psychological requirements a person should fulfill for living. That is what the definition of needs, right? There are mandatory physical and psychological requirements a person should fulfill for living, right? Okay. Then you can write the definition of other thing, right? What is other thing? Wants, right? Wants are the alternative methods of fulfilling needs, right? Wants are the alternative methods of fulfilling needs, right? So now you already got half a mark of it, right? So I will explain. I said you in your second part, you receiving a 20 marks question, right? In that 20 marks question, you will receive 5 questions, right? So 20 marks divided by 5 means you can score 4 marks from one part of that one question. That means you will receive 8 questions. In that 8, out of that 8 questions, you should write 5 questions, right? So in one question, right? In one question out of that 8 questions, you will receive 5 parts, right? That one part containing 4 marks, right? So this might be a 4 marks question, or this might be a 2 marks question. If it is under A or B, right? That 4 marks questions are also divided into 2 parts, right? I'm just explaining how the paper is coming. Sometimes you might have experience, right? Okay. Okay. This might be a 2 marks question, or this might be a 4 marks question, but this is the full answer that you can write, right? So you can write the definition at the beginning, right? Then you can differentiate these things, right? So these are also the differences as well as features of these, right? What are the features of these? Needs, limited, right? Needs are limited for us, right? There are few needs, right? So when we discuss the most wanted need is air, right? We can't even stay for 5 minutes without breathing, right? So the most needful thing for us is air, right? The next one, there's water, food, and clothing and shelters, right? So those are other needs. So those are limited, right? But wants are unlimited, right? There are many wants in the market that we can fulfill. Our example, food, right? There are rice, bread, pizza. So there are many alternatives. There are the wants are unlimited, right? If you think you can eat ice cream, if you think you can eat string hoppers, right? Because there are many wants, right? Next one is common for all humans, right? Even me and you and everyone, your parents, everyone is having some common needs, right? But when it comes to wants, right, it differentiates from person to person, right? It differentiates from person to person, right? Sometimes I might like pizza, but not you, right? You might like pasta, right? You might like pasta, right? I'm not always looking to eat pasta, but you are looking to eat pasta, right? Wants are differentiate from person to person, but needs are common. We all need to eat. We all need to breathe, right? Needs are common for all, right? Then Needs are primary requirements and wants are secondary requirements. When we had the need of food, we can get some foods, right? We can have some alternatives, right? Prior at the beginning, we have needs, and then only we can fulfill wants, right? Wants are secondary, right? Then next one, cannot be created, right? Businessmen or the manufacturers can't create needs, right? Then wants can create, right? Think you see advertisement of new ice cream, right? The in the recent times, Elephant House invested mango ice cream, right? So when I see that advertisement, right? So I think like uh, I have a craving for that mango ice cream, right? So that you see that the businessmen are creating wants, right? They are inventing new wants, but they can't invent needs, right? So can be created. Wants can be created. Then needs uncomplicated, right? Needs are not complicated at all, right? But wants are complicated, right? When I'm staying in Kalambu, right? So actually my hometown is Kurnagal, right? But at weekdays I'm staying in Kalambu, right? When I'm staying in Kalambu, right? I feel like uh it's very complicated to find foods, right? Find foods means there are many fast foods and all, right? But I'm always thinking, right? If I eat fast food, I might be getting out of shape and getting sick, right? Sometimes sick, right? So it's so complicated. I'm thinking what I'm eating. I'm eating rice and curry, or I'm eating dal, or whatever the curry. So I'm eating burgers, or I'm eating like this. It was very complicated, right? Sometimes you might not feel that because you are staying in home, or you are eating whatever the food that your mother is making, right? But that's differentiate from person to person, right? Okay. Uh, and also it's complicated. Then next one, essential for living, right? Needs are essential for living, and wants are not essential for living, right? So you see that, and also at the end, right? At the end, you should definitely include examples, right? You should definitely include examples, right? You should follow this structure definitely, right? Please take a screenshot. Please take a screenshot, right? If screenshot is not clear, I will give you uh 2 minutes to write this down, right? I will give you 2 minutes, right? Okay, write this down. Tell me once you write that one. Tell me after you done writing. Once you are done, Midesh, how is going? Okay. Okay. Shall we continue the lesson? Okay, let's continue. Okay. So now we done discussing needs and wants, right? Now we are moving to demand, right? Okay. What is demand? So if you have something to fulfill, right? If you want something to buy, right, that's like demand, right? In economics, if you are studying economics, there is a definition for that, right? So don't stick on the definition in business studies, right? So demand is what? Demand is wanting of a specific product that it's backed by an ability and willingness to buy them, right? Okay, you should have a desire to buy, right? You should have a desire to buy something, right? Then you should have purchasing power, right? If you have only money, your demand will be fulfilled, right? So you should have purchasing power, and also you should have willingness to buy, right? You should have a big willingness with yourself, right? So then only you can fulfill a demand, right? Okay, that is demand. That is one concept in this lesson, right? Okay, then we are moving to exchange, right? Exchange is what? Act that trades anything valuable between two parties, right? Two parties. This is number two. Uh, Two parties, right? Act that trades anything valuable between two parties, right? So exchange means you are giving something to another, right? There is an object that there is something that exchanging, right? So there are two parties, right? There are some things to fulfill exchange, right? Okay. So it is an act that trades anything valuable between two parties, right? Okay. Then what is a transaction, right? So transaction is a complicated process of exchange, right? Complicated, it's little complicated because that is an agreement, right? That is an agreement between two parties to exchange something, right? Agreement between two parties, right? Now once you are doing a transaction, another thing is there is money, right? You are doing in monetary basis, right? You are doing a transaction in a monetary basis, right? So there is a buyer and a seller and something to sell, and there is a medium called money, right? So that is transactions, right? So I'm showing you what are the things that you can buy, right? Just buy those things, right? Just go to your textbooks, right? Read these things. If you forget anything I'm explaining, right? Just repeat it, right? Then you will remember everything, right? Okay, then there's a value. There is a concept called value, right? What is value, right? See, ability to fulfill one's needs and wants, right? Think, uh, I'm teaching to you, right? I'm teaching. I'm managing you, right? Sorry. Let's see. I'm teaching to you. Okay. When I'm teaching, right? When I'm teaching to you, you have expectation, no? That's why you came to our class, no? Right? So think your expectations are not fulfilling here, right? Your expectations are not fulfilling here, right? So now, is there any value here, right? Is there any value if your expectations are not fulfilling, right? No, right? Think, keep this aside, right? Think you are buying a food, right? Now it's very hot, right? Now it's very hot. Now we are buying a whole thing to fulfill your thirst, right? But after that thing, after you eat that thing, right, or drink that thing, still the thirst is there. So is there any value, right? Value is something like that, right? If there is a value, right, that definitely should fulfill one's needs and wants, right? That's where the value is there, right? Those places have values, right? If you can fulfill your needs and wants from something, right, there's a value, right? Okay, then next one is satisfaction, right? It always going with value, right? Okay, satisfaction, right? What is satisfaction? Pleasure a customer enjoy. Ah, satisfaction, right? Think you satisfied from our class, from my class, right? So think you got some pleasure, right? Think so you're finding your pathway from my class, right? You're finding how to study, you're finding how to manage your things, right? Then you have some pleasure with you, right? So that is satisfaction, right? In business, right? If customer needs to be satisfied, right, there should be a value, right? In business world, if customer, so we know that there is a term called customer is the king, right? In business, if the business should stay, right, they should satisfy their customers, right? So how satisfy their customers? They should gain a pleasure to customer, right? They should gain a pleasure to customer's mind, right? So that is satisfaction, right? Now, next one is production, right? Production is what? Adding value to inputs and converting them to output, right? Production means adding value to your input and converting them to output. So it is a process of value making, right? Value adding, right? It is a process of value adding, right? Think as an example, right? Have you ever tried orange juices? That green colored orange, and we call it panidodang or something, right? Okay. Have you ever tried those things? I like that thing, right? So how we are going to make it, right? You can buy that panidura, right? That oranges, right? Then you can cut that thing, right? Then you can cut that thing, right? then you can add, you can press that to a glass of glass, and glass should have ice cubes and water, and you should add salt, and you should add sugar, and also you should add pepper, right? Then you have a glass of orange juice, right? So think you can buy a orange for 20 rupees, right? 20 rupees, and salt, for salt, sugar, and pepper. The cost is around 10 rupees, right? Cost is around 10 rupees. And for ice cubes, cost is around 10 rupees. Now your total cost is 40. Right? 40 rupees is your cost. But how much is that glass of orange juice? It's around 100 or 120, or sometimes it might be 150, right? So there is an added value in there, right? But it cost only 40 rupees. Sometimes it goes around 60, right? But at the end, right, there's an added value. You are selling it for 150 rupees, 100 rupees, right? So how much added value? I think your cost is 50 and you are selling it for 100 rupees. Your added value is 50 rupees. Likewise, in production, right? In production, everywhere in the production process, right? There is a value addition, right? Adding value, right? Okay. So, what is the outcome of production? What is the outcome of production? That is products, right? Outcome of production is products, right? Anything that offers to marketplace to fulfill human needs and wants. N and W means needs and wants, right? Okay. Products means anything that you offers to marketplace to fulfill human needs and wants, right? That is something that you offer to your customer, right? That is the thing that you give to your customer to fulfill their needs and wants, right? That's about products, right? Then we are going to concept called market. That's the place where you can buy products, right? That's the place, right? Any form of construct that combines buyers and sellers. So it says it is an any form of construct, right? It is an any form of construct, right? That combines buyers and sellers, right? There are buyers and sellers, right? This is the place where they combine, right? It might be a place, or a space, right? It might be a place or a space. Huh. How it uh how it becomes a space, right? Have you ever ordered something from online? Have you ever ordered something from online? Think you are buying a t-shirt from Carnage website, right? Are you going to the store? No, right? You are not going physically, but you are selecting through web, right? So that is a space, right? Your seller and you just combine through what? From internet, right? From internet. You're combining your seller through internet, right? That is a space, right? Think you are directly going to Carnage store, right? You are directly going to Carnage store and you select things and you purchase, right? That is like a place, right? That is a place, right? So the market is two types, right? Physical market and what is called space market, right? Or as we can call online market, physical market and online market, right? So those are the two types of markets, right? Okay, then there are profits. There is a concept called profits, right? We know that if you want profits, right, we should have a revenue than our cost, right? We should have revenue than our expenditure, right? So revenue should be surpass the expenditure, right? That is called profit, right? Then there is resources, right? To business to carry out, to business to continue, right? There should be resources, right? There should be resources. What are those resources? There are land, right? If you want to carry out a business, right? If you want to continue a business, you should have a place, right? You should have a place. But here, the land is a natural thing, right? Land is not a man-made thing, right? So there are some spaces. There are some land is just like the natural land that we gain from the nature, right? Not a man-made thing, right? Then there are tanks, right? Water tanks, right? Reservoirs, right? Natural reservoirs. Everything that nature gives us is called land, right? Then there is labor. Then there is labor. What is labor? Our physical and mental what? Our physical and mental efforts, right? Someone is earning from their physical efforts, right? Someone is earning from their mental efforts, right? So think you are a laborer, right? Think you are a worker, you are a mechanic, right? So if you are a mechanic, you should work using your strengths, right? Using your physical abilities, right? Think you are an accountant or something, right? Think you are a software developer, right? You are not using your physical strength, but you are using your mental strength, right? So labor is like that, right? Either you use physical or mental strengths to have some earning, right? The laborers are the one who made, they are the ones who manufacture things, right? They are the one who supplies services, right? Then there is capital, right? Capital is the thing, right? Capital is the thing that this is directly a man-made thing, right? So there are vehicles, there are machines, right? There are even a pen and a pencil is a capital, right? Because it's a man-made thing, right? So if we can use something for production, that if that was a man-made thing, that is a capital, right? Then the word, what is that? Entrepreneurship, right? Entrepreneurship, right? This is the most needful thing to a business, right? This is the most expected thing to carry out a business, right? So entrepreneurs are the one who managing businesses, and they are the one who take actions to start a business, right? So sometimes you might confusing because businessmen are directly not the entrepreneurs, right? Entrepreneurs are little different from businessmen because entrepreneurs are the one who are introducing new things, right? They are the ones who innovating things, right? But more similar to businessmen, right? So entrepreneur here represent businessmen are also, entrepreneur here represent businessmen also, right? Okay, then so there is another thing that the econ subjects are not teaching to you, right? Time. Time is also a resource, right? Time is also a resource, and info means information, right? Information. Information is also a resource, right? And next one is knowledge, right? The knowledge that we are gaining to production, the knowledge that we are possessing to service providing. Okay, these are resources, right? So these are the building blocks of this subject and also building blocks of this lesson, right? So now you have a good understanding about these concepts, and what you should do is after this session, right? After this session, open your book, open your notes, right? Open your notes, just go through it and remember the examples I gave to you, right? Just try to remember the examples I gave to you, and you should remember everything, right? That's how it goes, right? You should remember everything. But I gave you the pathway. Now I gave you some understanding, right? I add some value to your learning process, right? So I covered around two parts. Okay, actually, 2 out of 10 from the lesson number one in a small period of time, right? But I gave you so many examples, right? But I as I said earlier, I took you to shopping, right? Okay. Anyway, you might learn something, right? You might learn something, right? So this is the building blocks, and now we are going to rest of the lesson, right? Now we are going to discuss something more interesting, right? Now I'm going to clean the board. Is it okay? Please give please tell me someone. I'm going to clean the board, and shall we move on? Please tell me someone. Shall we move on after cleaning the board? Okay, let's clean the board. Okay, I'll clean here. So you should remember this one, right? How we are going to answer when the question is asking differences, right? Okay, now I'm going to teach you, right? Sometimes you might know this, right? There is a person called Abraham Maslow, right? So uh, he's a scientist, right? He's a he's someone well-known person in psychology, in the subject of psychology. He's a well-known person, right? So he invented hierarchy of needs, right? He invented something called hierarchy of needs, right? So hierarchy is something like a ladder, right? Something like a ladder, right? So if we want to climb the ladder, right? We want to climb the ladder, we should have our first step to first space, right? So if we want to climb the ladder, right, we should have a first step, then the next stage, right? Likewise, we can level up one by one, right? Okay, this is the way we are writing the hierarchy of needs of Abraham Maslow, right? So this is like a pyramid, or you can look it as a ladder, right? So there's step one, then step two, and this step three, and four, and the end there is five, right? So this is number one, two, three, four, and five, right? So what is the first one? So at the beginning, write down Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Not need Abraham. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Write down like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is the topic, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Right. So this will be a lesson for your business studies subject as well as lesson for your life, right? This will be a lesson for your business studies subject as well as lesson for your life, right? Okay. So Now we are going to discuss the needs we have. What is the need that we are going to fulfill first, right? That is called physical need, right? That is called physical needs, or as we can say psychological needs, so not physiological needs. Physiological logical needs. Draw with me, right? Draw with me. This is the steps, right? This is the hierarchy, right? You should initially step to physiological needs, right? Physiological needs, right? What are the physiological needs that we have? What are the physiological needs that we have? Ah, there are foods, water, shelter, right? Then clothing, right? Then rest, warmth, right? Then yeah, those are the things, right? As you know, there are few needs. No, what are the physiological needs? You can write here: water, food, rest. Rest is also essential, and shelter. Shelter is also essential, right? No, not don't take shelter, right? Don't take shelter for this place, right? Because we can stay without shelter, right? So I think you have seen many of people who staying in the road, right? So we can stay without a shelter, right? Okay. Then, right? So I hope you wrote examples, right? Then the next one is safety needs. Number two. Number two. I hope you can see the board. Yeah, we can see. Safety needs. Safety needs. Right? Then after you fulfill your physiological needs, right? Physiological needs, right? You can fulfill your safety needs, right? How we are going to be safe, right? How we are going to be safe? You can save from your parents. Initially, we all save from our parents, right? We all say save from save from our parents, right? And then there should be a shelter to stay, right? So that is a safety need, right? So we should have safety, right? We should have safety and security. We should have safety and security, right? So as physiological needs, there are foods, water, and there is rest, right? So before you are going to achieve your goals, right? Before you are going to fulfill your end goal, right? You should eat first. You should drink water first. You should rest first, right? You should have enough sleep, right? That's what you fulfill at the beginning, right? Then, so in there is a saying in Sinhala and in about the Sanskrit called Arogya Paramalabha. Have you ever heard it? Right? So if we want to fulfill that means that health is the most important asset that we have, right? Arogya Paramalabha means health is the most important profit that we are gaining, right? If you have a good health, if you have a good foods, if you have good water, if you have a good rest, if you have enough sleep, you can do other things, right? You can fulfill your other goals, right? Then now we are going to next step, right? Now we are going to next step, that is safety needs, right? Then now you should have home for your safety, right? And also you can fulfill your safety from a job, right? Safety from a job, right? Write those things, write these, everything that I'm saying, you should write those things down, right? Okay. You can save from your job, right? You can save from even from your insurance, right? So, you can gain safety from your insurance, right? Not those things down, right? if you are not confident in writing, use pencil, right? You can erase it later, right? But these things, write these things down, right? Okay. You can gain safety from your insurance, right? Your shelter, right? Your job, right? Job is something that gains safety for you, right? Okay. Then we are moving to next step, right? What is the next one? Belongingness and love needs. Next one is belongingness, 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 and love needs, love needs, right? Then, after we fulfill our hunger, after we fulfill our thirsty, right? After we become safe, right? We should have love, right? Everyone in the world love to be loved, right? Everyone in the world like love, right? Now you should have belongingness and also love, right? That means you should have good mutual relationships. With whom? With your mother, with your parents, right? With your friends, right? With your elders, right? With your teachers, right? You should have good mutual relationships, right? That's how you can build belongingness and love deeds, right? You should have good mutual relationships. That is the foundation, right? You should have good relationship, understandable relationship with everyone, right? Uh, how you can get belongingness and love needs? Good relationships, and again you can get belongingness and love needs from friends, right? Friends, and also from your parents, right? So you should build good relationships to get belongingness and love needs, right? You should have mutual and understandable relationship, right? Okay. Then next one is esteem needs, right? Next one is esteem needs. You know about self-esteem, right? Esteem needs. Then, right? After you eat, right? After you fulfill your physiological needs, right? After you become safe, right? After you have good affections with others, right? After you have good belongingness, and you after you got good relationships, right? Now you have a need of esteem, right? Esteem needs. That's like after you have everything, right? You are willing to have some power, right? So everyone that going after power, right? You have seen that people who is going after power, right? Even your head prefect in your school, right? Even your principal, even candidate that is looking to for that is looking to participate in elections, right? Those ministers, everyone is going after power. They have these things. Are you not agree with me? They have these things, right? So they are going after power after fulfill these things, right? If you are going after these without fulfilling these things, you're never going to make it, right? You should definitely, if you are going after power, right? You should initially fulfill these things, right? Then you can have some esteem, right? How you are going to fulfill uh, uh, self-esteem? From prestige, right? You can have prestige, and then you can have feeling of accomplishment, feeling of accomplishment. Feeling of accomplishment. This is, I think you can see that clearly. Feeling of accomplishment, right? Then prestige and feeling of accomplishment. How we are that how that's how we are going to fulfill esteem needs, right? Okay, then at the end, right? Now you have something to eat. Now you have your physiological needs. Now you have your own safety, right? Now you have good relationship with others, and now you have power, right? But our desires are not going to be end, right? You think ministers in the government, ministers in the parliament are happy? Are they happy? No, they are looking something greater than that, right? They have their own end goal, right? Every minister in the parliament, some people don't have that desires, but most of the ministers in the parliament, they want to become the president of our country, right? They want to become the president of our country, right? So at the end, right? Even you, right? Even me, right? This is how we can go our we can this is how we can go after our end goals, right? Initially you should fulfill our physiological needs, then you should become safer, and then you should have good relationships, then you should have good esteem, right? You should have good self-esteem, prestige, right? Then finally you can achieve, right, self-fulfillment needs, right? You can achieve self-fulfillment need. Self-fulfillment. Self-fulfillment needs. Right? So, what is self-fulfillment need of a minister? That's to become a prime minister or president. Right? That is to become a prime minister or president. Right? So, uh, so, so there are some religious leaders, right? So think you're a monk, right? So if a monk's end goal is to become to accomplish the nirvana, right? If you are a Christian, right? I think the end goal is to go for the God, right? If you are a Tamil, also I think your end goal is to go for the God, right? So there are end goals of everyone, right? Even a beggar, they have a self-fulfillment needs, right? Sometimes if so the beggar, what happened to the beggars? Beggars even can't fulfill this one, then they can't reach this to they can't reach this level, right? So if you want to become success, right, what you should do initially, you should fulfill your physiological needs, then you should fulfill your safety needs, then you should have good relationship with your parents, your friends, your lover, or anyone, right? Then you should have a prestige, you should have a honor with anyone, right? Honor with your peer groups, right? You should build a prestige, right? Then you can go for your end goal, right? That's how world is working, right? That's the reality, right? Okay. So this is actually interesting, right? I hope you enjoy. I hope you learn something from that. I hope you gain something for your life, right? So that's how the world is working, right? So please note that thing, right? I hope you not note down that thing with me, right? So I'm moving to next thing, right? So if you not note that down, please take a screenshot or search Maslow's hierarchy of need, right? So that is something related to this one, right? Needs and wants, right? Okay. Now I'm erasing it, right? Now I'm erasing it, right? So now we are moving to what are the expectations that we should fulfill to complete an exchange, right? I'm erasing it. Don't angry with me. I'm expecting a beautiful note after I'm ending the session, right? I'm expecting a good note, right? Please send me the images after the session. Okay. Now I'm going to teach you, right? Write down this one. Write down this one. There are a few conditions. There are a few conditions need to be fulfilled. There are few conditions need to be fulfilled to create an exchange. To create an exchange. To create an exchange. Right? Write down this one somewhere on your paper, right? If your paper is over, go for another 2 pages, right? Go for another 2 CR pages, or else you can use up the thing called cut papers, anything, right? I just want a clear note. I just want a beautiful, creative note, right? You should be more creative. Once you, if you are willing to go to university, right? No one is giving you a proper note. You should create your own note, right? You should create your own note, right? So we are practicing now for it, right? Okay. So I hope you write that one. There are few conditions need to be fulfilled to create an exchange. Okay, these are the conditions. Write down. First one is at least two parties should be get involved. 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 Write down the next one. Both parties should have something valuable to trade. Both parties should have something valuable to trade. Second fact. Both parties should have something valuable to trade. Next one, right? Next one, write down third one. Both parties should have the ability to get into exchange. Both parties should have ability to get into exchange. Both parties should have ability to get into exchange. Next one. Both parties should have the freedom to either accept or deny the offer. Right? Fourth one. Both parties should have the freedom. Both parties should have the freedom to either accept or deny the offer. Both parties should have the freedom to either accept or deny the offer. Right? If you are doing something, if you are going to do some trade, if you are going to buy something, definitely you have the authority to accept that offer or deny it. No one can force you to buy it, right? No one can force you to buy it, right? Both parties should have freedom to either accept, either accept, not accept. Sorry, it's my bad. Either accept or deny the offer, right? The next one, the last one is there should be a write down mutual trust between two parties. There should be a mutual trust between two parties. There should be a mutual trust between two parties. There should be a mutual trust between two parties. Okay. Those things are related to concept called exchange, right? Those things are related to concept called exchange. So we are still we are discussing concepts now. So you can write this number in that near that thing, right? You can write this number. I'm giving you that important facts, right? So I'm giving you important facts that uh that uh all the time asking in the paper, right? Those are common questions. Those things are always asking, right? So you should be prepared for that, right? Okay, now we are moving. Now we are moving to types of markets. Right. Now we are going to this number 10. Right. Uh, near your not, you should add this number 10. Right. Then you can understand this is related to this concept. Right. Okay. So there were several forms of market. Write down. There are several forms of market. I will explain those. Right. There are several forms of market. There are several forms of market. First one is the write down. You can use Roman numbers or simple A B C D. Right. First one is consumer market. Consumer market. First one is consumer market. First one is consumer market. Second one is industrial market. Second one is industrial market. First one is consumer market. Second one is industrial market. Industrial market. Third one is put a dash, draw a line after the second point. So this is another classification, right? First one is consumer market. Second one is industrial market, and the third one, right after drawing a line, third one is physical market. Right? We discussed that thing, right? Physical market, place, right? Physical market, physical market. And the fourth one is electronic market, that is space. Right? That is space. Electronic market. Electronic market. Okay, now I'm going to explain what is consumer market and industrial market. This is also very important, right? So, consumer market is a market that you can purchase goods, right? That is a place where the sellers are selling you consumer goods, right? That is the place where consumers purchasing things for final consumption, right? So that is the market, that is the most common market because there are many individuals who are purchasing consumer goods, right? There are many individuals that are who are purchasing consumer goods. But when it comes to industrial market, right, there are few buyers in the industrial market, right? So in consumer market, the consumers or the buyers are consumers. But in the industrial market, the buyers are businessmen or manufacturers, right? In industrial market, they are purchasing things to produce something, right? Think, right? You are purchasing biscuit packet from your convenience store near you, right? There is a grocery store near you, right? You are purchasing a biscuit packet, right? That is related to your consumer market, right? Consumer market. Okay. Consumer market. Right. Then there is what is industrial market. Industrial market. Right. So we can classify these two into, we can differentiate these two, right? So consumer market. What is simple definition? I'm giving you the simple definition. Consumer market. You can write down, right? You can write down, write so quickly because we have limited time period, right? Write so quickly and clearly, right? Write so quickly and clearly, right? So what is consumer market? Consumer market is place where consumer market is place where consumers consumers or buyers consumers or buyers purchasing goods, purchasing goods, purchasing goods for final consumption. Consumer market is a place where consumers are purchasing goods for final consumption, right? For final consumption, right? Then industrial market, write down under industrial market. Industrial market is a place. Industrial market is a place that businessmen are businessmen are businessmen are purchasing industrial goods. Industrial goods. Industrial market is a place where businessmen are purchasing industrial goods. Industrial goods for produce something new. For produce something new. For produce something new. So it differentiates from the purpose. You see, to produce something new, right? So it differentiates from the purpose. What is the purpose here, right? The purpose here is final consumption. The purpose here is final consumption, right? Now we can write the differences between those two, right? Write down the first difference, right? Write down here, write down here, here and here, right? First difference is, write down the purpose, purchasing for final consumption. That is the purpose of in consumer market. Purchasing for final consumption. And industrial market, purchasing for produce something, right? Purchasing for produce something. Purchasing for produce something, right? Then in consumer market, number of buyers is very high, right? Down. Number of buyers are very high, right? Number of buyers are high. Number of buyers are high. Number of buyers are high, right? Then in industrial market, number of buyers are low because there are few businessmen, right? Number of buyers are low. 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 Then the next difference, right? The next difference, right? Next difference. What is what is the method of marketing these things? What is the method of marketing? In industrial, right? Let's write industrial market first. In industrial marketing, the method of marketing is direct selling. Write down. In industrial market, the method of marketing is direct selling. Direct selling. Direct selling. In consumer markets, the method of marketing is advertising, right? The method of marketing is advertising, right? Method of marketing is advertising. Method of marketing is advertising. This is direct. Here it's direct selling because in industrial market you directly go for your customer and asking whether you're buying it, and if the customer means businessmen, if the businessmen are agreed to buy it, they are buying it, right? But in consumer markets, you are using advertisements, right? You can see many advertisements in the television, YouTube, and everywhere, each and everywhere in the stores, right? There are many advertisements, right? In consumer market, in the places where are selling consumer goods, they are using advertising, right? Okay, those are the those are the methods that equals marketing, right? Okay. Then now, so now we have discussed what consumer market and industrial market. Same way, right? Same way, just right here, just right here. Physical market, physical market, physical market, and what is the other one? What is the other one? Physical market and market space, right? Market space. That otherwise you can say online market, right? Market space or physical market, right? Otherwise you can say what? Online market, physical market or market space, right? So now we are going to discuss the differences of physical market and market space. Every time we are discussing differences, because when we are discussing differences, right, we already covered the features of them, right? We already covered the features of those, right? Now we are discussing the physical market and market space, right? So what is the physical market? What the write down. Physical market is a, so we know that we are initially writing the definition of it, right? Physical market is any specific place, where buyers and sellers meet to exchange. Any specific place, any specific place, any specific place where buyers and sellers meet to exchange. Any specific place where buyers and sellers meet to exchange. Right? Then what is market space? Right down here, right? This is market space is a situation where 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 buyers and sellers meet to exchange. Buyers and sellers meet to exchange goods and services, goods and services, goods and services through a digital medium, 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 through a digital medium. Or we can say it as internet. Or write down or internet. Or internet. Right? Or internet. Okay, so we wrote the definition of it, definition of both. Now we are going to discuss the differences. While we are discussing differences, at the same time we can learn the features of it, right? Okay, what is the first difference? There is a specific physical location. Write down in under physical market. There is a specific physical location. There is a specific physical location. There's a specific physical location. Then the next one, in market space, write down, there is no specific physical location. There is no specific physical location. There is no specific physical location. Now we are again come to physical market. Write down, transactions are taken place face to face. You are dealing with your customer face to face, right? Transactions are taken place face to face. If you are a seller, if you are a customer, you are meeting your seller or customer face to face, right? Transactions are taken place face to face. Then in market space, transactions are carried out digitally. 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 Okay. Now we are again moving to marketplace, right? Right down here, goods can be physically inspected. Goods can be physically inspected. You can check the goods before you are buying, right? You can check the goods. You can check the goods before you are buying it, right? Goods can be physically inspected before the purchase, right? And what happened in the market space? Can you physically inspect the goods? No, right? Goods cannot be physically inspected before the purchase. Write down. Goods cannot be physically inspected before the purchase. Goods cannot be physically inspected before the purchase. Right? In on a marketplace, write down physical market, write down limited locations and thereby cover limited geographical area. Limited locations and thereby cover limited geographical area. Limited locations and thereby cover limited geographical area. Limited geographical area. Again, now we are moving to market space. Write down here. Anyone can access the market from anywhere if internet facility exists. Anyone can access the market from anywhere. Anyone can access the market from anywhere if internet facility exists. If internet facility exists. If internet facility exists. Right? Now, still we are discussing this one. Still we are discussing market. Right? Anyone can access the market from anywhere if internet facility exists. Right. So physical market is a small place, right? As we are Sri Lankans, right? Our market is limited to our borders of country, right? But when it comes to online market, when it comes to market space, right? What happened? There is a whole world, right? There is a whole the world that we can sell, right? There are a lot of customers that there are multinational, thousands of persons out of the country, right? Anywhere, right? We can sell online. We can sell anything from online to anywhere, right? Because now the world is globalized, right? Now there is open markets, right? Open markets, right? So now the barriers are open, right? We can sell anything, right? If you have a business idea, right? What you have to do is put some effort, right? Find some foreign customers. You can sell anything, right? But you have some capital initially, right? Then next one, marketplace, right? There is a specific opening and closing time, right? In marketplace, right? Physical market, there is a opening and closing time. Opening and closing time, right? But when it comes to market space, right? Anyone can access the market anytime. Anyone can access the market anytime, right? Anyone can access the market anytime, right? We can call it like 24/7. We can call it like 24/7, right? Anyone can access the market anytime. Okay. That's the difference of physical market and market space, right? Now, actually, we are going to end this basic concept, right? We are going to done discussing these basic concepts after writing these things, right? So this is very important. This is actually very important, right? So I'm going to erase everything from the board now. I'm going to erase everything from the board, right? So basic concepts are all over. It's done, right? So write this down. Right, write this down. Write this down. Write this down. Contribution of business to the economy. Contribution of business to the economy. This part is usually asking for the filling the blank questions, right? There are some questions to fill the blanks, right? So this is always usually asking, right? Contribution of business to the economy, right? Write down just like a paragraph, right? For existence and for the development of human, for existence, for existence and for the development, for existence and for the development. Highlight those two words, existence and development. Highlight those two words and continue writing. For existence and development of humans, businesses are essential element. For existence and development of humans, businesses are an essential element. Businesses are an essential element. So now you learn two words, right? What is existence? Existence. I think it's E, right? Existence. Then other one is development. Development. So those two words are actually very important to us, right? So see, existence. For existence of ours, not like before, right? Not like ancient times, right? Now we definitely need businesses, right? If we don't have fuel, if we don't have gas, right? If we don't have actually the rice, right? Rice is coming from the market, right? We can't exist actually, right? For our existence, businesses are very important, right? You should remember then, for our existence, businesses are important, right? Then, for the development of the country, right? If there is no businesses, country is staying in a same place for a long period of time, right? So, country is not growing, country is not going for the future, right? So, if the country wants to develop, there should be more investments, there should be new businesses, right? There should be now innovative businesses, new innovative businesses, right? So, for the existence and development of the people and the country, right, businesses are very needful and very useful, right? Okay, you should remember those things, right? And now we are going to write some points how the businesses is contributing for this existence and development, right? Write down these points. Write down these points, right? Write down after this topic. Following are the few benefits delivered to the economy from businesses. Following are the few benefits delivered to the economy from businesses. Following are the few benefits delivered to the economy from businesses. These are very important. That's what I'm giving to you, right? Otherwise, I'm saying go find that thing in the book, right? These are very important, right? Write down. Following are the few benefits delivered to the economy from businesses. First one, complex and varying human needs and wants can be fulfilled. Complex and varying human needs and wants can be fulfilled. Complex and varying human needs and wants can be fulfilled. Complex and varying human needs and wants can be fulfilled. Number one, that's number one, right? So to fulfill our complex needs and wants, right? As we discussed earlier, our wants are very complex, right? You think sometimes you might think of so think of vacations, right? Think you have some money in your pocket, right? Actually me also, right? If I have some money in my pocket, there's a bunch of my friends that we are traveling each and every vacation, right? So we are traveling, right? Now we are thinking, right? We are thinking where we are going to travel this time, right? So even we are thinking to travel abroad now, right? But we still can't, we wouldn't able to manage still, but we are traveling all around our country, right? So there are many options, right? Our bonds are very diversified, complex, right? Now I'm discussing with my friends, right? It's better we are going for diving, right? Friends are saying no, diving is not good. Let's go for surfing, right? Let's go for surfing, right? This is a season in the goal. This is the season in goal, right? There are many surfing spots, right? Let's go for surfing. Likewise, someone is saying no, we don't go. Let's go for hiking, right? So now it's very hot in there. Right? It's very hot in there. Let's go for hike some mountain, right? So in some cold area, right? Likewise, there are many wants, right? Wants are wants are actually complex now. Those wants are fulfilling by businesses, right? When it comes to leisure, hotels, and there are many events, musical shows, right? So wants are complex, right? Those are fulfilling by businesses. Next one is innovation. Number two, innovation, right? Write down number two. Innovations are doing by businesses. Number two, innovation. Number two, innovation. Then number three, write down generate employment. Generate employment. Employment is generated by businesses. If there are new businesses now, at the meantime, there are new working opportunities, new employment opportunities. Generate employment. Then number four, eradicate poverty. Eradicate poverty. Eradicate poverty. Eradicate poverty. Right. So how the businesses can eradicate poverty? That means they are giving working opportunities for the people, right? Generate employment. Generate employment means they are eradicating the poverty, right? The next one, rural and regional development. Rural and regional development. Rural and regional development. Okay, how businesses are contributing to this rural and regional development thing? Yeah, think now you might stay in Colombo, right? But for a while, think you are staying in a rural area, right? When you are staying in a rural area, right? So it's very hard to fulfill your basic needs because some convenience stores and other stores are far away from you, right? So think now new let's think new garment factories locating in your village, right? In your area, right? What happened? The people in your area is getting new jobs, right? You're getting new jobs, right? Now their families have money because that jobs, right? So for in that area, right, for the consumption of them, supermarkets are opening, right? And new food stores and new clothing stores. They might work at government, but the government is not giving them clothes, no. It's a stealing, right? The government definitely restriction to giving clothes in the government, right? They don't give any even a cloth, right? They can't take those clothes. So there are many clothing shops near governments, right? So they can, after they get salary, they got clothes from those outside shops, right? So likewise, in those area, due to one single factory, there are many businesses evolving, many food stores, many clothing stores, right? That's how the rural and regional development can occur when because with the influence of businesses, right? Okay, then next one. Uh, Next one. To earn foreign exchange. To earn foreign exchange. I think I can turn on another light. Why I don't do that? Okay. I think now you can see more than that, more than earlier, right? Okay. Anyway. So next one, write down to earn foreign exchange. I hope you got that. to earn foreign exchange. Businesses are the one who involve in exporting and importing, right? When the businesses are doing exporting, right, the country can earn foreign exchanges, right? So, actually, the government is giving more subsidies to the ones who are earning foreign exchange because country is looking for foreign exchange, country is looking for more dollars or sterling pounds, right? So for those companies, country is giving more subsidies, right? So it was actually a contribution to our economy from businesses, right? If you are doing something in exporting, right, you are earning what? Foreign currencies, right? Foreign exchange. Then next one, number 7, utilize local resources, right? Utilize local resources. Utilize local resources means you are utilizing something within our country, right? So there are many unused resources, right? We learned that there are many resources like land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, and the time we can't take time here, right? So there are many resources that the country is not using for production, right? So those things can be used if there's a business, right? If there's a new business, we can use that unused resources, right? There might be unused labor, there might be unused lands, right? So those things can be used with the influence of new businesses, right? The next one, to improve national economy, to improve national economy, to improve national economy, to improve national economy. Businesses are important, right? To improve national economy. How the businesses is improving national economy? We will discuss that thing in the third lesson directly, right? And also, yeah, we will discuss that thing in the third lesson, right? I will give you some explanation, some summarized explanation, right? If we want to develop our country, right, there should be more GDP. GDP means gross domestic product, right? There should be more gross domestic product that will be created through businesses, right? If the businesses are producing more and more, right, GDP will be increasing, gross domestic product will be increasing. Then we can improve our national economy, right? That's how we can improve our national economy. That is a summary, right? There are many ways to improve national economy. There are many methods. It was very complex, but the simple explanation is if we want to improve our national economy, right, we should improve our gross domestic product. Actually, simply the production. We should increase our production, right? Okay, that's how we can improve. That's how we can. That's how businesses can contribute for economy, right? So now we are going to classify businesses, right? Now we are going to classify businesses, right? There are different criteria, right? Different criteria, right? You can use a single table, or you can use your own way to write this, right? I suggest a single table, right? So you can write like this, right? There are criterion, right? There are many criteria, right? Criterion, right? Criterion. I think my spellings are okay. That doesn't matter. I don't care about spellings, right? Don't care about grammar in business studies. We don't even care about grammar, right? Not even your ones who are marking your paper, they don't care about grammar, right? Anyway, as a teacher, I should know about grammar. Anyway, try. He is not. I think he is not here. Criteria. Okay. Anyway, there are many criteria, right? There are many criteria, and there are many classifications according to that. There are many classifications according to that. Classification. Okay. Let's. I will tell the criterion, and you should tell me the classification, right? Okay. Let's see. My students are good. Have some sort of knowledge. No, I'm not. I'm not. Underestimating you. I'm not even asking, right? I just joke, right? I know you sometimes you might know, sometimes you might not even study these things. First one is nature of production, right? Nature of production. Nature of production. Okay. Under nature of production, there are a few classifications, right? What are those classifications? There are three types of classifications. What are those classifications? Nature of production. Under nature of production, there are primary businesses, primary, secondary, secondary, and tertiary. Uh, this is something you should know, right? This is actually very important when you are coming to. We are discussing gross domestic product in our lesson, not today, right? Not today. We are discussing in the next day, right? The next day we are discussing GDP next day. But you should know what is primary, secondary, and tertiary, right? I think it's better we discuss that thing next day. In simply, I will explain. Primary means if the production is getting directly from nature, right? It's primary, right? If something if you are selling something that gain directly from nature, it's primary thing, right? It's primary business, primary production, right? Secondary means if you are converting the state of that product that you gain from the nature, right? If you are converting the state and selling this, that is a secondary, right? I will tell you an example. If you are plucking a mango from mango tree and selling that thing, that is a primary production. Actually, agriculture is a primary thing, right? The secondary means you're converting that mango fruit into mango juice or mango jam, right? Think you are selling mango jam, right? That is a secondary product because you are converted the state of it, right? Then tertiary means directly services, right? There are many services, right? Those services are related to this tertiary, right? Okay. Then next one is sector of production. Next criterion is sector of production. Sector of production. So when it comes to sector of production, these also have three sectors. Right? First one, our ancient, our historical thing, right? That is agriculture, right? Agricultural sector. There is agricultural sector. Agricultural sector. Others, when I'm teaching, sometimes single words are also coming, right? If you are familiar with that, please tell me. Because I'm a single medium teacher for around 6 years, right? I'm teaching single medium classes for 6 years, but with that influence, some single words are coming, right? Don't worry about it. If you are familiar with that, please tell me. I can describe add to the actually on point. I can describe in singular this thing. I'm also even now describing very well in English. But in my in single language, I can describe in detail, right? Sometimes there might be Tamil students and Muslim students. That's why I'm not using single here, right? So don't get angry with me. I think it's better to teach everything in English, right? Then next one is agriculture. Agriculture. Uh, Next one, what is industrial sector, right? In sector of production. Next one is industrial. Industrial sector. Industrial sector, right? Then third one is under sector of production. Service sector. Service sector. Agricultural sector, industrial sector, and service sector, right? So under criterion of sector of production, these three criteria are there. Agriculture means you know that, right? Growing trees, right? Foresting is also agriculture, coming under agriculture, and also there is farming. So the what do you call the things that farms? There are farms like what do you call growing wheat, right? Wheat and corn, right? Growing corn, those are also coming under agriculture. You know that, right? So the next one, sector of production, agricultural, industrial, and service sector, right? Under industrial sector, this is the sector where manufacturing occurs, right? Manufacturing. This is the place where manufacturing happens, right? So then the service, we know that there are many services around the country, and there are banks, right? There are communication services, right? Then there are insurance services. There are actually storing, right? Logistic services. There are many services around the country, right? And also, yeah, electricity also a service, right? Those are services, right? The next one, ownership, right? This is very simple. These are very simple. You know that. Under ownership, right? Under ownership. Third one. Next idea is ownership. Right? Under ownership, you can classify it as public and private. Right? There are public, private. I'm just writing here because it was very convenient to use the word, right? But you should write. You should write a similar table and write this classification under that thing in this classification a column, right? Public and private, right? Now we are moving to next one. Goal, right? According to goal. Now fourth one, goal. There are businesses with profit oriented businesses. There are profit oriented businesses and non profit oriented businesses, right? According under goal, there are profit oriented, and other one is non profit oriented. Right? Okay. Profit oriented, non profit oriented. Then the next one, right? Scale of production. Right? It is also very easy. Number 5. I'm writing here, but you should write another criteria. Right? Number 5. Scale of production. And the scale of production, there are 3, right? What are those? Small scale, medium scale, and large scale. Small scale, medium scale, and large scale. Small scale, medium scale, and large scale, right? You should write under this thing under this classification and this thing under this criteria, right? Okay. Then next one, geographical coverage. Number 6, geographical coverage. Coverage. Under geographical coverage, there are domestic and foreign classifications. Domestic and foreign. Okay. So you know why I'm not interacting. I'm not asking many questions from you. The reason is we are running out of time, right? So otherwise, if this is a theory class of mine, I'm asking a lot of questions from you, right? There are no excuses if this is a theory class, but I'm not asking questions because we are running out of time. We just have 3 months to cover everything, right? That's why I'm not asking questions and just acting as a manager, right? Okay, then next one. I got the next category, next criteria, nature of liability. I hope you can see here, right? Yeah, okay. Number 7, nature of liability. Nature of liability. Okay, nature of liability. Under nature of liability, there are 2, right? There are 2. What are those 2? Limited liability. Limited liability. Limited liability. And you know what other is, right? That is unlimited liability. Unlimited liability. Unlimited liability. Right? Limited liability, unlimited liability. I hope you are writing with me. Okay. And Yeah. So those are the classifications, right? Those are the classifications, right? Okay. So I think it's better to discuss GDP today because now you know some idea. You have some idea about primary, secondary, and tertiary. I plan to discuss that thing in the next day. But I think it's better we discuss today, right? Because I gave you some few examples, right? So let's go discuss this into details, right? Right. So now I'm erasing everything, right? Just discussing nature of production and sector. So this is very important, right? This is usually asking in your paper, right? How business can classify according to nature of production, right? What are the methods under nature of production? There are primary production or primary businesses, secondary production or secondary businesses, or tertiary production or tertiary businesses, right? So that's how we are going to. That's how you can classify according to nature of production, right? Primary, secondary, and tertiary, and sector of production, right? What are the sectors in Sri Lanka? The main sectors in Sri Lanka: agriculture, industrial, and service, right? Okay, now we are going to discuss our gross domestic product in Sri Lanka, right? Using these two, right? Using these two, right? Gross domestic product consisting entirely from these three and these three, right? If these three, if this classification is not there, we can classify only using this classification, right? The sum of these three equals gross domestic product, right? So we think we are not going to this classification. We are going to this criteria, nature of production. Sum of these three equals gross domestic product, right? Anyhow, in this category and also in this category, we can calculate GDP, gross domestic product, right? Okay. Now we are going to discuss the thing called nature of production, right? Okay. Okay, I'm erasing this one. Right, I'm erasing this one. Mm. Now the most important classification to calculate GDP is in economics, there are three methods, right? There is a expenses method also in economics, right? We are not discussing that one here, right? It was little bit confusing to you, right? But these two things are very easy if you understand, right? The thing is you should know the things coming under these things, right? You should know the examples actually, right? If you know the examples of these, right? If you don't have doubts of these of the examples of these, right? You are not going to wrong in your answers, right? Uh, Now we are going to discuss first on nature of reproduction, right? Okay, let me drink some water, please. You also can drink water, right? These things are these days are very hot. Okay, let's go to discuss it. Let's discuss nature of production. You feel like I'm crazy. I'm talking again and again and continuously talking, right? I'm not giving you rest, right? Like sometimes, actually, I'm in my theory classes. I have some psychological patterns of teaching, right? I give 5 minutes breaks when the students' attention is not there, right? But here I can't give you 5 minutes break, right? We are at the end of the war, right? And at the end of the war, if we stay back a little, right, enemies will attack to us, right? If we sleep a little, right, we must be dead bodies. We might be dead bodies, right? So at the war, right, at the end of the war, right, we should we should stay awakened, right? Okay, we are going to discuss nature of the production. Okay, according to nature of production, right? That is primary production, right? That is primary production. It's better you can if you can write here, right? I think you wrote this criteria and classification. If you have space here, it's better you write here, right? If you don't have space, please take this nature of production as a topic and put primary production. And now I'm going to discuss what is primary production is, right? Okay. Uh, can you please write this down? Right. If you have space here, you can definitely write here. Right. This will take around 2-3 lines. Right. Definition of it will take 2-3 lines. If you can write here, or else if you don't have space, you can go to another place. Right. Okay. Write down under primary production. Write down businesses or industries such as businesses or industries such as businesses or industries such as. Oh, you have a chair. I forgot that. I can see. Oh. Okay, write down businesses or industries such as mining. Businesses or industries such as mining, comma agriculture, 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 comma or forestry, or forestry, or forestry, or forestry, comma that is concerned with obtaining or that is concerned with obtaining or that is concerned with obtaining or providing natural raw materials for obtaining or providing natural raw materials for conversion into commodities and products. Conversion into commodities and products. Conversion into commodities and products. Conversion into commodities. Okay, no worries. I will say it from the beginning, right? Businesses or industries. If something like that, uh, could you please open your mic and ask for me, because I'm always not looking at the chat, right? Anyway, thank you for letting me know, right? Businesses or industries, I'm repeating it. Businesses or industries, comma, such as mining, comma, agriculture, comma, or forestry, or forestry, or forestry, comma, that is concerned with obtaining or that is concerned with obtaining or that is concerned with obtaining or providing natural raw materials, providing natural raw materials, providing natural raw materials for conversion into commodities and products. 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 Okay, I hope you write that one. I hope you wrote that one. Right? There is another definition. You can write this one also. Write one. In other words, right? This is also a definition for primary sector, right? This is also another definition for primary sector. Right? This one also. In other words, industries and businesses. In other words, industries or businesses. Industries and businesses. In other words, industries and businesses those who provide inputs for finished goods. Those who provide inputs for finished goods. Those who provide inputs for finished goods. Okay, write down these examples. Input after we wrote that definition. In other words, industries and businesses, those who provide inputs for finished goods. Write down examples. Farming, fishing, and mining. Farming, fishing, and mining. Farming, fishing, and mining. Okay, I will explain this one. Right? Okay. So here it says, right? Here it says industries and businesses, those who provide inputs for finished goods. Right? Industries and businesses who provide inputs for finished goods. Actually, everything here is coming from nature in primary production, right? In primary production, right? In this sector, everything is coming from nature, right? Think you are plucking a fruit from a tree, right? You are getting milk from cow, right? Actually, cow is a product of nature, no? Right? Think you are getting your harvest from your paddy field, right? Everything, right? That is coming from nature, right? But there's an influence of ours also. We are watering it, we are putting seeds, right? But those are inventions of what? Inventions of nature, right? So, and also, these things are the things that we are using for secondary production. That's why it says that these are the inputs for finished goods, right? So, the primary sector is place where giving you inputs for secondary sector, right? And for finished goods, right? So that is what we call primary sector. There are examples like agriculture, fishing, and mining. Mining is also getting things from the soil and the nature, right? Getting things from the nature, right? Okay, I will again take a seat and give you the definition for secondary production, right? Secondary sector, right? Okay, write down businesses and industries. Businesses and industries. Businesses and industries that convert raw materials provided by primary industry into that convert raw materials provided by primary industry into that convert the raw materials provided by primary industry into commodities, commodities, commodities and products for the customer. Commodities and products for the customer. Commodities and products for the customer. Comma. Manufacturing industry. Comma. Manufacturing industry. Manufacturing industry. Manufacturing industry. Write down examples. Write down examples. Construction, comma, plastic manufacturing. Construction, comma, plastic manufacturing. Plastic manufacturing. Construction, comma, plastic manufacturing. Okay. So that is the definition of it, right? Here, right? Here it says businesses and industries convert raw materials provided by primary industry into commodities, right? So here primary industries, primary sector give you some raw materials, right? This is the place where the secondary sector is the place where converting those inputs into outputs, right? Converting those commodities into outputs, right? Okay. So there are examples: constructions and plastic manufacturing and manufacturing. right? Not only plastic manufacturing. You can put a comma and write in examples, write down manufacturing also, right? There are many manufacturing things, right? There are many manufacturing, there are many factories as well, right? So that manufacturing comes under secondary production, right? Secondary businesses, right? Secondary sector businesses, right? Okay. I hope you get an idea. If you don't understand anything, could you please ask me? Not anything. If you don't understand something, please ask me, right? I'm so happy if you're asking something from me, right? Because I'm speaking continuously, right? Actually, I was like singing in a desert, right? Because no one is there to listen to me, right? I feel like that, right? Sometimes you might have the best attention, you might have the best attention, but I don't see it, right? So I feel like I'm singing in a desert, right? No one is listening to me, right? So if you have some interaction, that's why I said you, right? At the beginning of session, I texted it in WhatsApp. I'd like to have an interactive session, right? So anyway, right? I would like your responses, right? I would like to hear your voices anyway, right? If there's a math class, it was inappropriate because everyone is listening, right? But now we are friends. We are actually now we know each other, right? Don't worry to ask something. I would love that, right? Then next one, right? Uh we are moving to tertiary sector. Write down under that write down, right? Tertiary sector. This one, tertiary sector. Or you can say tertiary sector businesses, right? Okay, then write down businesses or industries that provide, businesses or industries that provides, businesses or industries that provides, businesses or industries that provides services to its customers, services to its customers, services to its customers, that provide services to its customers. This includes both persons and other businesses. This includes both persons and other businesses. Comma. This includes both persons and other businesses. Persons and other businesses. And there was another definition. Please write that down. Write that down also. Also write that down. In other words, comma. Tertiary industry refers to. Tertiary industry refers to. Tertiary industry refers to trade and auxiliary services. Trade and auxiliary services. Trade and auxiliary services to trade. Trade and auxiliary services to trade. Trade and auxiliary services to trade. Within bracket write down support services to trade. 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 Right? Support services to trade. Okay, write down examples. Write down examples. Write down examples. Trade, comma, trade, comma, banking, comma, insurance, insurance. Okay, these are tertiary sector business. These are examples, right? Now I'm going to discuss everything, right? Tertiary sector, right? So when you are doing a primary business or secondary sector business, right? You need services, right? If someone said you can do businesses without services, I'm arguing with any cost, right? if you are doing some business, services are mandatory, right? What are services? Uh, Trade is also a service, right? You might think trade is just like a manufacturing. No, trade is a service, right? Trading means service. If you are buying something or selling something, it's a service, right? You are selling the end products. You are selling the things that coming from the secondary and primary sector, right? But it's a service, right? Okay, then there are other auxiliary services as well, right? There are banking, insurance, and logistic. Logistics means there's a word called yeah, trade and auxiliary services to trade, right? Yeah. Trade and auxiliary services to trade. That means logistics, right? Trade and auxiliary services to trade means that is logistics, right? So those things are also coming under services, right? Services means treasury means actually services, right? There are simple little differences, right? Little differences in examples, only in examples, right? Actually, primary is just like agriculture, secondary is just like industrial sector, tertiary is just like services. Almost same, but the only difference is examples, right? That's why you should remember examples very well, right? I will give you examples when calculating GDP, right? When calculating GDP, I will give you a good examples. Every example, I will give every example, right? So treasury is almost similar to services, right? Okay, that's about primary, secondary, and tertiary. So let's summarize that one. Primary means you are getting something from the nature, right? You are not changing the nature of the product, right? You are not changing the state of the product. But when it comes to secondary, right? Secondary means changing the things, changing the inputs that gain from primary production, and you are making a output, right? You are changing the state of it, right? Then there are examples like manufacturing, uh, yeah, industries, the what are constructions, right? Construction coming under secondary, right? Then there is tertiary, right? Tertiary means trade and auxiliary services. Trade means you are exchanging something with your buyer and or a seller, right? Then other auxiliary services like banking, insurance, and storing and logistic services, and yeah, those are the auxiliary services, right? Then we are moving to next criteria, sector of production, right? After the discussion of sector of production, right? I will give you a flow chart that is the summary of this both of this, right? You can definitely identify, you can definitely uh, identically know what are the things coming under these two things after that flowchart, right? So now we are going to discuss what is coming under yeah, agricultural sector, industrial sector, and services sector. Write down. Either you should write here, or if there is no space, you can write in a separate place, right? Okay. You can put the if there is no space here, you can write the topic as like sector of production, and you can write put agriculture first, right? Okay. Now we are going to discuss agriculture. What is agriculture? Write down. Write down. Number one, agriculture sector or agriculture. It's better you write agriculture sector. Output proceeded. Oh, output produce through farming, output produce through farming, output produce through farming, output produce through farming, fishing, fishing, forestry, 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 and animal production, and animal production, and animal production, right? That is called agriculture sector. What is agriculture sector? Output produced through farming, fishing, forestry, and animal production. So examples are also there, right? Okay. Write down the examples. Same things, right? Write down examples. Put examples. Farming, comma animal production, comma forestry, comma fishing. Farming, comma animal production, comma forestry, comma fishing. Farming, animal production, forestry, comma fishing. Write down number 2, industrial sector. Industrial sector. We are discussing industrial sector. Right? Write down under that. Write down under that definition. Output produced through. Output produced through. Output produced through mining. Output produced through mining. Mining. Manufacturing. 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 Construction. 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 And supplying. And supplying. And supplying. Output produced through mining, manufacturing, construction and supplying. Okay, write down examples for that. Right? Write down examples for that. Write down examples. Mining and quarrying. Number 1, mining and quarrying. Mining and quarrying. Mining and quarrying. Comma. Manufacturing. 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 Comma. Construction. 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 Comma. Electricity supply. Electricity supply. Electricity supply. Electricity supply. Comma. Water supply. Water supply. Water supply. Water supply. Electricity supply. Water supply. Okay. Now I'm going to explain something. Right? Okay. Write down the service sector also. Write down the service sector also. Before explaining, write down the service sector number 3. Right? Number 3. Service sector. Under that service sector, write down. These are the intangible outputs. 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 Write down examples. Transportation, banking, real estate. Write down. Transportation, banking, real estate, trade. Transportation, banking, real estate, trade. Real estate, trade. I hope you're done writing. I hope you're done writing. Now I'm going to explain these things. Right? Okay, first one, agriculture. Right? So as we discussed, there are agricultural things, right? There are agricultural activities, right? Farming, fishing, right? Farming, fishing, and forestry, animal production. Okay, now we can see some difference, right? Now we can see some difference. Initially, you saw that mining and quarrying comes under primary sector, right? These tricks, these simple things are not explained by every teacher, right? But I'm telling you, right? You saw that, right? Initially, right? I said that almost this primary sector and agricultural sector are equal. Almost secondary sector and industrial sector are equal. Almost tertiary sector and service sector are equal. But there are some differences in exams. I said you, right? What are the differences, right? Under primary sector, mining and quarrying are coming under primary sector. But in agricultural sector, it was not coming, right? It was coming under industrial sector. Mining and quarrying is coming under industrial sector, right? So that is a difference, right? That is a difference, right? You should identify those trigger points, right? Okay, then another okay, let's discuss industrial sector. So industrial sector is output proceed through mining and manufacturing, construction and supplying, right? Okay, in examples, right? In examples, I say that mining and quarrying coming under industrial, but here it was coming under primary, right? Okay, mining and quarrying is there, manufacturing is there. It was already there. It was already in secondary sector. Nothing different. Nothing different, right? Then construction is also here, right? Construction is also in secondary sector. Now construction is industrial sector also. There is another new things, right? See, electricity supply and water supply. Electricity supply and water supply is coming under tertiary sector under nature of production, right? Electricity supply and water supply is coming under tertiary sector under nature of production. But here, electricity supply and water supply is coming under industrial sector, right? That is also another difference, right? You should remember that difference also, right? So these are the things that you can gain marks in the exam, right? Because you can clearly remember what it belongs, right? So under nature of production, water supply and electricity supply is coming under tertiary sector, right? But under sector of production, right, it was coming under industrial sector, right? Electricity supply and water supply is coming under industrial sector, right? Okay, let's move to service sector, right? There are same things like tertiary sector, right? Banking, trading also should be comes under here, service sector, and transportation, real estate, right? Our trading is there, right? Okay, what missing is, right? What missing is electricity supply and water supply comes here, but it was not there, right? It went here, right? Electricity supply and water supply is here, but in nature of production, it was there, right? So that was the difference, right? That is main things, right? That is key things that you should remember, right? That is a key thing that you should remember, right? Okay, now I'm going to give you the flow chart, right? Now I'm giving you the flow chart. You can easily identify these things, right? You can easily remember these things, right? Actually, those visual representations are the best things that we can remember things, right? We can write many more notes, right? We can write many notes, we can fill many pages, but visual representations are the things that we can easily identify, we can easily remember things, right? Okay. In the top, I'm writing production, right? Production, right? Production. Or industries or anything, you can write businesses or production. We can classify, right? We can classify into three main parts, right? Three main parts. Three main parts. We can write primary here, secondary here, tertiary here, right? Primary industries, secondary industries, I hope you're writing with me. Secondary industries and tertiary industries. Tertiary industries. Tertiary industries, right? Okay. So I said you agricultural, agricultural, industrial, and service sector is almost similar to here now. So now, in that case, we are writing it. You should write that not from your pen. You should write that from your pencil, right? Because it was almost same, not same, right? Okay, use your pencil. Write down here: agriculture sector, industrial sector, service sector, right? To remember, right? To just remember, right? It was almost similar, right? Okay, there are three main primary industries, right? There are three main primary industries. I will classify primary industries into three, right? What are three main industries? Agriculture, fishing, and mining and quarrying, right? Agriculture means farming, right? I can write farming. Farming. There's a fishing, mining. Examples for primary industries, right? Again, farming can classify into three. Right? First one is agriculture, right? Under farming, first one is agriculture. Right? Then there is forestry. You know forestry, right? Forestry. There are many natural forests in Sri Lanka, and also there are many man-made forests. Also, not many, but few. There are forests, right? Man-made forests, right? Then animal production. Animal production is also coming under primary industries and farming, right? Animal production. What are the examples? There are chicken farms, egg farms. There are some beef farms also, right? Okay, then secondary industries, right? Under secondary industries, there are manufacturing and construction, right? We can classify into two: manufacturing, construction. Manufacturing, construction, right? Uh, now the best part and the most complex part. Right? So this is the most important part. You should remember and you should write this down very well, right? Tertiary industries. We can classify into two, right? Two, right? What are those two? We know that there is trade, right? There is trade, right? Trade can be classified into many parts, right? We know that there is foreign trade, local trade, right? Uh, Retail trade, wholesale trade, right? You know this thing, right? Retail means what? You are purchasing for your final consumption. Retail trade. Then wholesale trade, right? Trade can be classified into retail trade and wholesale trade, right? Then there is support service. We can call it also as auxiliary services, right? That's right, support services. Support services, right? What are those support services? Write down. This is very important, right? You should know what are exactly what are the support services, right? What are those? There is banking, right? Banks are support service, right? Bank is a support service, right? Then insurance. When you are doing trade, right? Insurance is very important, right? When you are importing or exporting, shipping some goods, right? Insurance is Very important. Insurance, right? Then there's another auxiliary services, transportation, right? Transportation. Transportation, right? Then communication. Communication. Communication, right? Then next one is warehousing. Warehousing. Ah. These are the support services, right? There are support services, banks, insurance, transportation, communication, warehousing, right? I hope you wrote this down, right? I hope you wrote this down. I hope you wrote this down. Himdesh, are you done drawing this one? Himdesh. Okay, nice. Okay, let's discuss, right? So, this is the thing, this is the visual representation of our discussion, right? Production, this is the thing is we are discussing the state of production, right? Not state, right? Nature of production, right? Nature of production, actually nature of production, right? Let's write that one, right? Sometimes that, otherwise you might get confusing. Nature of production, right? This category is coming under nature of production, right? Okay, primary industries, secondary industries, and tertiary industries, right? Under primary industries, there is farming, fishing, and mining. Farming can be classified into two: agriculture, forestry, and animal production, right? Okay, then secondary industries, manufacturing and construction is there. Tertiary industries, trade, retail, and wholesale is there. Support services are also there, right? And also, right? And also, right? What are the other things, right? What are the other things? You can, let's write it here. One thing is electricity. Electricity, gas, water. Under service sector, under tertiary industries, electricity, gas, water is also there, right? Electricity, gas, water is also there, right? Electricity, gas, water, gas is also there, right? Okay. So as we discussed, right? Did you remember what what difference? What are the differences from actually not differences? Actually, the what differentiate is examples, right? As I said earlier, what happened is these electricity, gas, water supply is coming to uh, what under classification of state, right? Industrial sector. This was coming to This was coming under industrial sector under classification of state of production, right? And the other thing is this mining is coming to mine is coming into industrial sector under state of production, right? This is nature of production. Only differentiating is you can circle that this thing, right? Only differentiating is right these few things, right? These are the things that jumping when changing the criteria, right? Criteria is nature of production and production sector of production, right? Okay. Okay. So far we have discussed a lot of things, right? And I'm really grateful your people listening so far, and I hope you got many learnings, right? I think so, right? I'm actually expecting your comment from you, right? So some people are absent in the session, right? They requested me give the recording, but the live session is most interactive and most efficient and most effective session, right? if you are watching or if you are attending a live session means, right, you are getting you are giving your 100% your effort and your attention, right? So sometimes think you are now you are watching a recording, right? You are speeding up, right? You are speeding it up, right? Not effective at all, right? While you are staying in a live session, right, you can ask questions from me. If you are want able if you want able to write anything, right, you can ask from me, right? It's very interactive, it's very helpful to study, right? I'm really grateful of you guys, right? I'm really happy for you guys, right? So going forward, like, let's do let's cover all things in I said you, I'm managing you. I will guide you, right? Not teaching. I will guide you, right? I'm guiding you until your exams, right? You can ask anything from me. I will help you, right? Also, I'm happy for you guys, right? Let's wind up the session for today, right? Let's start. I will as scheduled as we scheduled. I will arrange next session on Wednesday, right? Actually, in Wednesday, I don't have this whiteboard because I'm staying in Colombo. I'm starting to seeking for a good space, right? But still I not found it. But don't worry, I will arrange a good presentation from my WhatsApp, not WhatsApp, through Zoom, and I will share it with you, and I will discuss everything. The only thing absent is why this whiteboard, right? This is very useful for studying, right? Anyway, right? Don't worry. Next Sunday again we have this whiteboard, right? We can discuss many things with you, right? If you have any doubts or any questions, please ask me. You have my number, right? So let's meet on Wednesday, right? Hope you guys enjoyed this session. And uh yeah, that's all for the day. Good night, all of you.
Good night, sir. Thank you.
Welcome.